So today we've got the M5. This is an early 2000. I think it's actually built in late 99. But it's an E39 M5. First year of these cars had a couple of unique features. Those being the early taillights. So these are pre-facelift taillights, but they do have clear upper corners. The front headlights are a similar story. They are pre-LCI. So something you would find on a 97 to 2000 E39, however, clear corners and standard xenon. Mine are not in good condition, but I do have some nice ones to put back on there. The hood, I believe, also was very subtly different than kidney grills, but I'm not entirely sure there. These wheels are indeed factory wheels, however, the finish is not factory, and it's very rare to find one of these cars with factory finish wheels, just because of how not durable that coating ended up being. It was a two-stage coating, kind of a dark underneath and a lighter powder coat. I'm not thrilled with the finish on these, but the M5, of course, had gloss shadow line trim. This car was a pretty basic one, in that it didn't have extended leather or anything like that, but still a pretty desirable combination, silver on black. These trim sets were unique to the M5, all of them. You couldn't get my favorite trim set, which I think was anthracite birch. That was only in the non-Ms. The 2000 also had a black face gauge cluster instead of the blue-gray face that was popular on the 01 through 03. And this car is early, so it has the early style steering wheel before they went to the E46 M3 style. Transmission, only option, standard. S6S 420G Getrag. This car had the optional navigation system, the small Mark III nav. That was superseded 2001. M5s, of course, had black A-pillars, oval mirror, black headliner, and some unique seats. All E39 M5s were powered by the S62 B50, which is a bit of a misnomer, since this is indeed a 4.9 liter engine. My car has 116,000 miles on it. Typical stuff to look out for on these. Vanos cam bolts. The throttle bodies tend to gum up with EGR gunk. But other than that, these are actually really solid, as long as they've been run on that 10W60 or had some really short intervals done on 5W30. They don't rev very high. The Redline fuel cut's only 7,000. So the rod bearings don't have to work quite as hard as they would in, say, an S54 with another 1,000 RPM to contend with. The block is very closely related to the M60 and the M62 family. Cylinder heads are very closely related to the S50 Euro and the S54 US. Double Vanos on each bank. 394 horsepower, 4.9 liters. Really good sounding engine. The fuel injection computer is almost identical to that used in the E46 M3. It's a Siemens MSS52. The exhaust is a one-piece stainless steel system. Mine's been cut because it had some pretty raunchy holes cut in the primary pipes back here. I found a set of good factory takeoff mufflers. My rear splitter thing here is not factory, unfortunately. It sags a little bit. I'd like to find a factory one, but it is what it is. I bought this car mainly because I found it with a full set of service history since new, and although it had several fairly distasteful mods on it, they were all pretty easy to reverse, and I'm most of the way there. The M5 was a really low production vehicle. They only brought just over, I would say, 15% as many of these as they did E46 M3s over the years that they were sold here. And of course, BMW films. Clive Owen made this one pretty famous with the Hire, and I think one of the other films as well. But it's just a really well-rounded car. Gets pretty good fuel economy. They're actually really reliable. This is probably the second or third most reliable combination of E39. And this car is just kind of an icon. So I bought it because I knew I could fix it up, enjoy fixing it up, put a bunch of miles on it, and not lose money on it. No collision damage or anything like that on this car. Like I said, 116,000 miles. So I figure I can do pretty well when I finally go to actually turn it around someday. Maybe look at a E60 M5 with a 6-speed or something like that to hold more long term. But I'd be perfectly happy with this in the garage for a long, long time since it is such a usable car. Current stuff that needs doing, the headlights you saw, those are pretty terrible. It needs control arms, needs suspension. I'd like to refinish the wheels, needs new tires. But other than that, it's pretty close. I've done it had a blacked out trunk badge, that's been changed out. Took a bunch of tape residue off the back, swapped out the mufflers. I'm sure there's a ton of little stuff here and there, like sunshades and other stuff I'm forgetting. But the car clearly was looked after for a long, long time. And then the guy I bought it from just sort of didn't do anything to it. So that is the M5. Future plans, like I said, just get it back to stock or as close to stock as I can. And then just enjoy it. I mean, it's just one of those cars where I know I can come down here on any given day, turn the key, it'll fire right up, and I can use it as I would a daily driver. There's no sacrifice. I mean, it holds 4 people in comfort, 5 in a pinch, reasonable fuel economy, like I said. The air conditioning works great. It doesn't overheat. It's got a limited slip diff and a lot of power. Obviously, a 6-speed cog swapper with the only option. So, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this car for now. I haven't driven it all that much since purchasing, just because it's always had these little niggling issues. Still have some DSC problems with it, but yeah, I don't envision this thing going anywhere in the foreseeable future, so expect to see it around. And yeah, like I said, if I do turn it, it'll probably be for something like an E60 M5 with the 6-speed, which is a North America only car and even more rare than this, even though it's not necessarily better.